notice. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to a beautiful Froggy Friday. Today is November 10th, 2023, and we have the incredible and amazing Reverend Eileen Brownell, no E at the end, hanging out with us on this incredible morning. We are so blessed and we are so inspired to have her with us. I just want to let everybody know that Reverend Gwen is not here with us today, and we stand in love with her as she is visiting grandbabies. But we come together as we are getting ready to receive a talk title by Reverend Eileen Brownell called Living a Sincere Life. I can't wait to hear what she has in store for us. Welcome, everyone, as you pop in, Miss Morphine, Michelle, Lucia, Alfred. Oh, so good to see everybody. Okay, so we're going to open and lay that foundation as we do with all things. Karen's going to open us with treatment, and then Paul, I will sing I Am Opening, and we will go into a brief meditation, and then we're about to kick it off, everybody. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Karen, will you open us and lay that beautiful foundation?
Right here and right now, we settle down, for we lead busy lives, participating in all the activities of life. And in that participation, we remember that right here and right now is the very presence of God flowing through us physically, mentally, spiritually. Mm-hmm. And that presence is the very substance of our beings, and it fills our lives. And as we remember this, we remember that we lead sincere lives, authentic, loving, and full of community, love, light, and laughter. And it is in this moment we acknowledge that we have been called and blessed to be here. And so it is.
I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know.
As we sit still and know that God is God. Let's just take a few minutes to nourish our spirit with this truth. That God is God. And God expresses as us. Whatever our experience was today, whatever it is that we may have gone through today, let's do ourselves a favor by taking the next 4 minutes to appreciate that all is well, because all is God. God is good all the time. Let's take a few minutes to ponder this truth. That God is God, and we express as God, and it's well with us. In due time, I'll let you know when to come back. So I just urge you to appreciate this truth and enjoy it and take comfort in the knowing that God is God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. You are God. We are God. As we come to the end of this brief meditation, gently bring your consciousness back to the service. And even as the service is going on, just appreciate that this truth doesn't change. God is always God. We are expressing God. God is good. It's good with us. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Paul. I needed that this morning. Thank you. So grateful. Hey, lots of people have popped in while we were doing our meditation. Welcome, welcome. We see you and we're so grateful that you are here. You are in for a powerful, wonderful, beautiful morning of celebration, of community, of togetherness. And we have Reverend Eileen Brownell in the house, going to shine her light, going to share her wisdom, and going to bring her energy. But before we get to that, let's sing. Shall we sing? Let's do what we do. You guys know this song. Sing along with me. We are one people, one strong heartbeat, just one spirit shining bright within us all. We are a part of one another. We're born to love each other. When it's all said and done, we are one, we are one, we are one people, one strong heartbeat, just one spirit shining bright within us all. We are a part of one another. We're born to love each other. When it's all said and done, we are one, we are one, we are one people, one strong heartbeat, just one spirit shining bright within us all. We are a part of one another. We're born to love each other. When it's all said and done, we are one. When it's all said and done, we are, let me see those spirit fingers, one, one, one. Oh, she is a friend of the center. She has taught many of you that are here this morning. She is a promise keeper. She is a straight shooter. She is funny. She is filled to the brim with the truth and essence of life. It is my joy, my highest honor, to share with all of you, and welcome to our Froggy Friday stage. Let's show that love for Reverend Eileen Brownell. Come on, come on, come on. Unmute yourself, my friend. Oh, we welcome you. We welcome you. Yay! Oh my gosh. There you go.
Okay. I want to see faces. I don't want to see black boxes. I want to see faces. Besides, I have a question for all of you, and I want to see those faces when you come up with the answer to start with here. Come on, Lenny, Alfred, Lucy. Come on, I want to see it. Flo, where are you hiding? Miss Morphine.
Carrot.
Come on, Lenny, Karith. I haven't seen you guys in so long. I want to see ya. Come on. There's Lucia. It's about time you showed your pretty face. Come on, higher, higher, higher. Those beautiful teeth. Come on. Where's Karith? Come on, Karith. Lenny, I don't see you. Flo, Nancy.
Come on, Nancy and Alfred, open it up.
I want to speak to faces. I don't want to speak to black boxes. Okay, here's my first question for you. How would you define sincere or sincerity? Just unmute yourself and say it. Just pop in and say, how would you define sincere or sincerity? Who's got an answer?
What about
Honesty.
you, wise one? Paul?
What?
Honesty.
Honesty. James, how about you?
Authentic.
Okay. Karith, how about you? What does sincere or sincerity mean?
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Who's got one more? I want one more. One
Erin's
more.
got her hand up.
Without
Okay.
wax.
With you're gonna tell my story, I can tell. You're gonna steal my thunder here.
Uh-oh, go for it then, Eileen.
Just so you know, Reverend Eileen, some phones use extra battery power and so everyone might not show themselves just, but they're here. We're here. We're
Gotcha. Okay, I got it. I just wanted to see their faces, and I'm putting my phone here on airplane because it's starting to ring on me. So I don't want it to interrupt us while we're trying to talk here together. So the dictionary tells us sincere or sincerity means not affected or genuine, being without hypocrisy, true, pure, unadulterated. So all the definitions that you shared tie in with that. Now, most of us learned the word sincere or sincerity or sincerely when we were just little kids, and our parents said when you got a birthday present or a Christmas gift, you had to sit down and write a thank you note to whoever had sent it to you. And you always signed that off either love or sincerely. And we we were taught to use that as our closing remark when we wrote those thank you notes. And it meant we were signing off honestly and in an earnest manner. Now, during the Italian Renaissance, there was almost a sculptor on every single corner. And each sculptor would look for the perfect piece of marble or stone to create what they thought was going to be their masterpiece. And most of us have at least seen pictures of the magnificent Michelangelo David or the Pieta. And just remember, the Pieta is the one where Mary is holding Jesus after the crucifixion. And just to have a concept of that, the Pieta was made from one block of marble that was 1.8 meters by 2.1 meters. Now in America, that means 6 by 7 feet. That's huge. 7 feet. Just imagine a man that stands 6 feet tall or 7 feet tall. That's like two basketball players that this huge stone was made out of. And often stone merchants and quarry owners wanted to sell everything that they had mined, everything that they had in their stores. And this meant every piece with a flaw or a crack had difficulty being sold. So many sellers would fill the crack with wax, as Karen told you, shame, shame, steal my thunder here. They would take the cracks and the flaws that were in the large marble and they would fill it with wax and hope that you, the sculptor, would not see it. And the honest stone sellers, however, refused to use the wax to cover the flaws. They wanted the buyers to see the truth and to know what they were buying. So the sellers became known as sincere, which back then meant one who showed their stone without wax, flaws and all. And sincere was actually two Latin words, sincere, sin and cere, which meant without wax. And a sincere person became known as someone who was honest. And who was it that said it was honest? Was that you, Paul? Was that you that said it was honest? Okay. It also means that they were open to not hiding their flaws. So why is sincere so important to living an authentic life? Now, the ancient Chinese text in the Doctrine of Means states, given sincerity, there will be enlightenment. And to me, that means that when we're honest with ourselves and others about our flaws, our faults, our challenges, ultimately spiritual enlightenment and transformation happens. In The Exquisite Risk, Daring to Live an Authentic Life by Mark Nepos, he states, only through a sincere life can we know love and compassion. Only by devoting ourselves to sincerity can we know God. I believe that each one of us is called to live a life of vulnerability. And that means each of us is called to live an authentic life through that vulnerability. We're asked to stop hiding our flaws. We're guided to be open and broken and to accept our need to alter our journey and to live our life at a deeper and more spiritual level. It is through that depth of being that we discover our ability to be sincere because we release all need for deception. We admit our mistakes. And above all else, we own when we have hurt others and we ask for forgiveness. Martin Luther King, who I hope all of you know who he was here in America, often spoke of his idol, Gandhi. And he said, if you ask people in India, why is it that Gandhi was able to do what he did in India? They will say they followed him because of his absolute sincerity. And any time he made a mistake, even in his personal life, or even a decision that he made in the independence struggle, he came out in public and he said, I made a mistake. Just imagine today in the world governments, no matter what country it is, what would happen if politicians would be public about the mistakes that they have made, and flaws would show up rather than them always trying to convince us that they were right or that they were perfect. Joe Melanchthon says that without vulnerability, there can absolutely be no transformation. And isn't that what we're all really seeking in life? That with our last breath, we can look back and know that our journey has been completed with authenticity and spiritual transformation. Our willingness to be vulnerable gets us to that place of authenticity and transformation. And when we choose to come out of our self-made protective quarries that are hardened by hurts and time and release our broken hearts, we become willing to explore our cracks and our human flaws within. We move from moments of hurt and self-rejection and frustration to the creation of sacred within. In Tibetan lore, there's a character known as a spiritual warrior, and they face life here on earth as one of continual transformation. The spiritual warrior always has a broken heart. Why? Because it is through the inner cracks that the eternal mysteries of life and spirit can enter. And the spiritual warrior lives with their cracks and their flaws. And when we choose to fill our cracks and flaws by hiding them, we are letting go of our transition to authenticity and sacredness in life. We close down the opening for the spiritual depth to enter. And ignoring our flaws does not heal them. It just prolongs us from our individual spiritual growth. Romans 12:2 tells us, do not imitate the way of this world, but be transformed by renewing of your mind. We renew our minds when we're willing to explore our mental and emotional flaws. That is part of self-acceptance and spiritual growth. And if we can't accept ourselves, then how can we accept others? And how can they accept us? Not too long ago, I was working with a client, and before I had even completed a sentence, she would always have a reply. In fact, I would barely get the last word out when she would have a reply. And finally, one day I said to her, are you conscious of how quickly you always reply to me? I mean, you never let me complete a sentence without you interrupting or starting in what you've been thinking about. Are you really hearing what I say, Or are you too busy thinking about your response to me? She was stunned. Her reply was, I had no idea I did that. At our next appointment, she told me how she had shared my comment with her aunt, who told her, oh, don't worry. It's a family trait. We all do it. We've been doing it for generations. It evidently was ingrained within her as a small child. That's an example of race consciousness that Ernest Holmes talks about. And her aunt was giving her an excuse to not listen and to continue with this annoying habit. On the other hand, I was challenging her to look at her crack in the marble surrounding listening and see if she could improve. So many of us use ancestry and heritage as an excuse to not transform or change. Change requires our time and our effort. It's easier to stay the way we are. Sincerity is about honesty and truthfulness. It also means that as an individual, we are free from deceit and falsehoods. Just like the stone sellers and the quarry owners were honest and truthful about the flaws within the stone, we can also open up to our own flaws. Truth was so important to Ernest Holmes that he wrote about it 75 times in the Science of Mind text, and that's only the text. He wrote about it also in his other books. One of the statements that popped out for me was, as he learns the truth will automatically free him. Holmes is speaking about you and me, and when we recognize and are willing to admit the truth about ourselves, when we do not hide the truth from others or ourselves, then we are set free. When we live a sincere life, we're more centered. Sometimes our good intentions get tangled in our sincerity. Often when we're not centered, we tend to share love as we want to be loved, rather than loving others as they choose to be loved. Whenever I'm working with a couple, I often will suggest that they get a copy of The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman to learn and understand how their spouse wants to be loved. By understanding how others want to be loved and treated and appreciated, we become more centered and able to respond to another's specific needs, not just our own. Over the years, I have collected a hodgepodge of firewood for winters and for my camping trips. Some of it's from the local mountains, from freshly cut trees. Other logs are too long or too big for my fireplace here at home, but they're absolutely perfect for the campfire during the summer. And some folks' pieces are from local orchards and perfectly seasoned, while some are still green and will only burn with a smokiness, not with true flames. Much like carefully picking specific pieces and wood textures and sizes for what kind of fire I want, we must do the same when we choose to light the inner fire that sends us on our spiritual journey of transformation. Sufi Master Hazrat Khan once said, God breaks the heart again and again and again until it stays open. That's how we transform into sincerity and authenticity. So just how does one become a sincere person? What makes them someone trusted by others? Why do we tend to value authentic people and think poorly of individuals we perceive to be fake? Maybe it's like the wax placed in the cracks of the marble. Genuine people are true to themselves and more likely to be honest with us. They don't need to hide their flaws. Being a sincere and authentic person requires an individual to be confident in who they are. Often this means being brave during adverse conditions. In a recent web article, a multitude of ways were suggested on how to live a sincere life and how to be authentic. Here are a few suggestions you may want to consider. First, realize that sincerity comes from our heart. Whatever you say or do is really important. You have to be genuine and honest. For example, you can't say that you love something when you actually hate it just because you want to please somebody else. If you praise someone, truly mean it. Don't dislike someone and then pretend with others that you care about them. Always be genuine. Don't try to be what you think others want you to be. Your actions will be viewed as insincere, and you'll spend lots of time projecting yourself as a person that isn't really who you are. Keeping up a facade is a lot of hard work. Ultimately, our flaws will show up and the results could be disastrous. Next, look for ways to be good without expecting a reward. Giving is an act showing your genuine concern for others. It means showing a sincere interest in someone else. Be positive. Look for the good in situations regardless of what is happening and in other people. Put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand where they are coming from. When negativity rises up, use positive affirmation to find a more positive side of each and every situation you experience. Next, always be truthful. If you're placed in a situation where someone is asking for your opinion, be conscious, however, of their perspective. Be gentle and kind in your honesty, and stay non-confrontational and calm. Always be more concerned with truth than opinions. My father was known for his honesty. Many times stories were shared at his celebration of life about his kindness and his honesty. And yet, when he gave someone his opinion or belief, it would often come across as angry. He would get this stern look on his face. And one day I asked him, "Why do you always express your opinion in that manner, Dad?" And his response was simple. "I want people to know I'm telling them the truth." It always astonished me, since he was one of the kindest and most gentle individuals I have ever known. Stick to your promises. It's very simple. Whether you've made a promise to yourself or to someone else, stick to it. Finally, be the same person on the outside that you are on the inside. Remember that your behavior when you think no one is watching is a pretty good indicator of who you really are. When we as individuals make that choice to come out of our self-made quarries, to explore our cracks and our flaws, we're moving through times of sorrow and frustration and hurt to create the sacred in our lives. Creating healing and self-examination are all about coming to know and love ourselves, flaws and all, without wax and without hiding from ourselves or others. We're choosing to let the truth be told and the farbles to be known so that our moments of challenge, our authenticity, may shine forth in compassion for ourselves and others. And when the imperfections and the flaws show up, celebrate with joy. Be joyful in your recognition of the truth that you've discovered about yourself. And be filled with a sense of adventure as you create the scaffolding on the outside so that you can rebuild the inside. After all, you are building the sacred from within. Now you're probably thinking that means the sacred means a building with stained glass windows and statues and stuffy music. Absolutely not. Allow your home, a mountaintop, or a car to be your sacred place. And above all, you be the stained glass windows so that the rainbows of sunshine light through you in the layers of imperfection, but filled with truth and love. Reject the wax, open the cracks wider, see more that you have consciously and unconsciously hidden, and allow the world to know just who you are in truth and sincerity. Isn't that what the imperfect life calls us to be? Truthful, sincere, and authentic, all of which are part of the divine sacred within each of us. This is the truth in my life, and this is the truth in yours. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. That was so poetic, Reverend Eileen, and so profound on so many levels. Thank you so much for sharing that. Are there any questions? Oh, I want to make sure I give you space. I don't
That's
want to
fine.
use that race consciousness of generations of what we say. That's just the way the Macallas do it. That's so beautiful. I love that. Patrick, you're unplugged. Would you like to share anything?
Nice to see you again, Reverend Eileen. Long time.
Good to see you too, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you very much for the talk. And there's one point where you say if I don't like somebody, I should pretend. I mean, I should be sincere. I should pretend. Does it mean that I have to show them I don't like them? Can you elaborate on that?
No, well, here's a way to look at somebody that we don't like, Patrick. I always look at them as my teacher, because usually what we don't like in them is something that we don't like in ourselves. They're doing something that irritates us, and when we take a real good look at ourselves, we can open up that flaw and see that it isn't really about them. It's about what we don't like in ourselves. And when they become our teachers, then we begin our own healing journey to correct within ourselves what we don't like about ourselves. And when we do that, then we are in that space and place of spiritual growth, of inner growth, of emotional and mental growth. And all of a sudden, what you'll begin to notice is that person which you detested or didn't like, you begin to love, because they were your teacher. They gave you so much more than what you ever realized. And so, it's like I've got neighbors who are really irritating to me, that are just, they're oblivious to how their lifestyle affects other people and our property around them. And it's like, okay, where am I not taking care of my yard that it has an effect on them? And so then it makes me even more concerned about going out and cleaning up my junk within my yard, so to speak, so that it doesn't affect them anymore. Because then I'm setting the example, but I'm doing the healing. Does that help, Patrick?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great question, a great answer. I know that Reverend Eileen has to head out because she's committed to another program that she's participating in. But I want to make sure if there's any other questions while she's here, we get her to answer them without a doubt.
I wanted to ask Reverend Eileen, Eileen, sincerity, does it only have to do with the flaws? Could it also be with the positive things and the talents that we may have as well?
Well, okay, let me make sure I'm understanding, Paul, what your question is. Does sincerity have to do only with flaws, or is it with the good stuff about ourselves? Am I understanding that correctly, Paul?
Exactly, that's the question.
Okay, all right. No, we look here in America, and I don't know about Canada. Barbara, you can respond about Canada, but here in America, when you say somebody is sincere, it really means that they're being honest. Or when we say sincerely at the end of a letter, it's with regards, with highest regards for somebody else. And so, but that's the shift. Now, remember that the Renaissance happened in the 1500s. So that's like 500 years ago this happened. And our words make a shift and a change as we move through life. As we move on, what it originally meant in Latin is not necessarily what it means today. But looking at being sincere, when I'm sincere, I'm honest. And if I'm honest, are you going to see my flaws? Are you going to see what's wrong with me? Am I taking an honest look at who I am and really working on who I am? And I have to realize too that when I'm willing to work with a spiritual mentor, when I'm willing to do the hard and the difficult stuff of releasing and letting go of fear and anger and frustration in my life, that makes me a more honest and a more authentic person. And it's not something that happens overnight. I was laughing because the other day I was meeting with my spiritual mentor, and I started working with her in 2006. And I realized that we had met over 300 times since May of 2006. And you have to realize that as I start to work on something, maybe let's say it's about my anger, or that I'm not good enough. That's a theme that I think everybody has. I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough singer. I'm not a good enough speaker. I'm not a good enough teacher. I'm not good enough at this. We get hung up in that, and so we do a lot of healing work around it, and we say, oh, I'm cured. And about 2, 3 years later, or even 2, 3 months later, all of a sudden, guess what? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And it shows up again. And it's like the layers of an onion. We keep taking it off. Or if you look at a light bulb and you throw a bunch of blankets on top of the light bulb, you can't see the light. And so we start to take the blankets off so we can see the light. And that's what we do when we do our inner healing. We're taking the blankets off the light so people can see our light shine out. Does that answer it, Paul? Does that help?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks
That's
for
beautiful.
asking, you guys. I love these questions. Ask more.
Eileen, we love when you come, and I'm mindful of your time and our time. So we want to thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom, and we pray you come back, and we know you will, because you're good friends of CSL Kenya, and we treasure and love you. And Flo is saying thank you, Reverend Eileen. Everybody's just so grateful. Before we go into our closing benediction, there's a couple of things that I want to let you know. We're going to do our offertory. James will do our closing benediction. And is there anyone who would like treatment? And if you'd like treatment to go into a room, just put up your hand or let us know, and we'll get you in for a 2-minute miracle. And in the meantime, I would like all of you to unmute yourselves, because we are going to say some offertory words together. I will recite the line and you will say it behind me. And I want you to know that our center runs solely off of all of your love offerings. So if you are here in North America, you can go to cslkenya.org and press our donate button. And if you are in Kenya, you can contact Nancy with an M-Pesa account. She will put that out there for you, and you can connect with her. Any bit helps us, and it all comes back into our community as we are the flow of life and love and God in action. So unmute, everyone. Unmute, unmute, unmute. And repeat after me. I am filled with the energy of abundance. And say it like you mean it.
I am
filled
filled with the energy of abundance.
I am willing to share my financial good with my spiritual community.
I am
willing to share
my
financial good with my spiritual community.
Ooh, you guys sound good today. You sound good today. So I would like to ask James, are you here still? Or did you get kicked out? There you are. There you are. James, if you would give us a closing benediction and send Reverend Eileen out with love and gratitude. Everyone show Reverend Eileen some love. Yeah, we adore you, sister. Bless you a million times
Love you.
over.
Thanks a bunch. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Go ahead, my friend James.
Yeah, let's actually settle and be centered in very deep gratitude. The divine presence which has engulfed all of us, the oneness, the unity, the force of love that has bound us all together, the joy, the growth, the enlightenment, the elevation that we have witnessed in our meeting today, the healing, the blessings, and all that which in fact we have shared. I give blessings to all as we now depart, everyone to his or her individual life. Blessings and more blessings through and through. And all of us, let's say, and so it is.
And so it is. Blessings and blessings through and through. Thank you. Is there anyone with their hands up for treatment? Pat didn't see any? Well, here's what I want you to know. I want you to know that you're loved, you're treasured, you're adored. Reverend Gwen and I appreciate you deeply coming and giving yourself to us on this Friday night in Africa and this Friday morning in North America. I love our community. I bless us. Go forth and shine the love and light you are. Peace and blessings, everyone. Peace and blessings.